Hello everyone and welcome to the video, and today we're going to be going over a tier list for all of the heirlooms in Apex Legends. So basically I'm going to be ranking all of the heirlooms from best to worst in Season 10, so this will include the Revenant heirloom, but not the next one that will be coming out. But before we get into the video, I would like to ask you guys to not only drop a sub, but to also follow me on Twitch. It helps me out a ton. I would really appreciate it, and I'll put the link to my Twitch in the description. So one thing I want to mention before we get into the tier list is actually how it's going to work. So basically I'm going to be judging these based on two things, and that will be the animation. Not like the full animation while standing still, but rather the spin animation. As you guys know, when you're running around, you could spin it. Spam inspect, as well as the looks of the heirloom itself. So first up, we have Bloodhound. In my opinion, Bloodhound's heirloom is one of the best in the game. It's definitely one of my favorite, and that's why Bloodhound's heirloom is going to be in the S tier. I think the axe is one of the coolest heirlooms in the game, and plus the inspect with the flip makes it a lot better as well. So in my opinion, definitely one of the best heirlooms in the game, and easily comes in the S tier just because of the amazing design of it. So next up we have Gibraltar's heirloom, and Gibby's heirloom is probably middle of the pack. When it came out, I don't know, I thought it was alright, but it could be better, and the flip or the spam inspect is kind of just decent, so that's why we're putting Gibby's heirloom in the B tier. I think it could be better. Some people might put it higher, some people might put it lower, but I think it's kind of just average. It does have a pretty nice look, as well as it's pretty animated, so that's definitely a plus when you're looking at heirlooms. The more they move, the more they stick out, the better they are. And his flip, like I said, it could be better, but overall not bad. That's why I'm going to put Gibby's in the B tier. You could definitely argue it to be a little bit higher, maybe put in the A tier, but personally that's why I'm putting it in the B tier. So next up we have Lifeline. Lifeline shock sticks are one of my favorites in the game as well. I feel like the inspect, as well as just the look of them, is very unique. I like how they kind of shock when she hits them together. I like the actual punching animations of them as well. That's not something we have talked about so far, but I feel like it does play a part. I really like the Lifeline's heirloom. I know a lot of people aren't crazy about it, but in my opinion, I'm putting Lifeline's heirloom in the A tier. I think the look of them, the fact that it's two-handed and they're like drumsticks, it's really cool. It fits Lifeline's whole persona, and I really like it. As well as this, she flips it. She flips one of the drumsticks for the spam inspect, which looks really good, and it's very satisfying to do in game. So that's why Lifeline's shock sticks are going in the A tier. And next up we have Pathfinders gloves, and Pathfinder's gloves are alright. I've never been a huge fan of them, and honestly that's why I'm going to put them in the C tier. They are definitely suffering. I honestly, like, you could make a case to put them in the D tier just because of the one fact that it's the only heirloom in the entire game that does not have a spam inspect. So if you're running and you try to spam inspect, nothing happens. It's very boring. I don't know why they would put that in the game. I think they should probably update that and change that and give them a little inspect, because honestly, the gloves are just kind of boring. They're cool for the punching just because they're boxing gloves, and socking someone in the head is, I mean, there's just something obviously very funny about it. They're only cool, in my opinion, for the novelty aspect, just because they're boxing gloves, but other than that, I think they're kind of ugly, and the fact that they don't have a spam inspect brings them down to the C tier, and like I said, you could definitely argue for D tier. And next up, we have Wraiths Kunai. Wraiths Kunai is definitely, it was the first heirloom, so obviously I'm a little bit biased towards it. I was definitely a Wraith main for the longest time as well, and I feel like Wraith's heirloom is one of the most perfect heirlooms in the game. It looks very sleek. It's so nice. It's very satisfying to flip as well. It has one of the best flip animations and spam inspects. You really can't go wrong with Wraith's heirloom. That's why I'm putting it in the S tier. I might be biased, but I think it's one of the cleanest looking heirlooms in the entire game, and it has literally been something that everyone has wanted since the game came out. So it also has that going for it as well, and that's why in my opinion it's easily one of the best heirlooms in the game, and easily S tier. And next up we have Bangalores heirloom. And Bangalore's heirloom is pretty nice. I feel like the look of it is pretty cool. Overall, it's kind of like Gibraltar's heirloom, where it kind of just falls in the middle of the pack because it has like a kind of, it's like a kind of average inspect, as well as the look of it's cool, but it's nothing too crazy or reactive as much as the other heirlooms. It just kind of glows, but overall it's pretty nice. That's why I'm putting it in the B tier. Not bad. Definitely could be better. The inspect could be better, but overall it's a solid heirloom, and I kind of like it. So next up we have Caustic's hammer, and Caustic's hammer is probably one of my least favorite heirlooms in the game. I just don't like the look of the hammer. The fact that it's like yellow, it's just kind of not my thing. I really don't like the design of it. That's why I'm going to be putting in the D tier, as well as the spam inspect for it. It literally doesn't even move. The little cartridge thing in the middle of it just like kind of spins a little bit, so the spin animation is super boring, as well as the look of the heirloom in general is just not that nice. To me, it's kind of boring and it's a little bit lame, so I don't really like it. And that's why I'm definitely going to be putting that in the D tier as one of my least favorite heirlooms in the entire game. And next up we have Mirage. Mirage's heirloom is definitely right there with Caustic's. It is one of the worst heirlooms in the game. It's incredibly ugly. It's just a really stupid heirloom in my opinion. It's probably the worst heirloom in the entire game. The only thing that makes it a little bit better is the fact that the spin animation or the spam inspect is kind of nice. The fact that he kind of like throws it up and flips it is kind of cool, but overall the heirloom is incredibly ugly. It's definitely the worst heirloom in the entire game. It's literally just a trophy of himself. It's absolutely terrible. Nothing unique about it. It's pretty boring and pretty stupid in my opinion, and that's why I'm putting it in the D tier. Definitely my least favorite heirloom in the game, and I really don't like it. So next up we have Octane's heirloom, and Octane's heirloom to me, it's alright. I've definitely kind of been biased against it because I just don't like the way it looks. It's a switchblade, obviously it's kind of cool. It has the stem in the middle of it, but the spam inspect is really ugly. He just kind of like moves his hand up and down. It's absolutely terrible. As well as the heirloom itself, to me, was never all that cool. It definitely fits Octane really well, so that's bonus points for that. And I could definitely see if someone would make a case for it to be B tier, or if they really liked Octane and were biased, they could even put it in A tier. But for me, it was just kind of like average, maybe a little bit below average when you take into account the spam inspect being absolutely terrible, and that's why I put it in the C tier. Overall, just not a fan, but I could see if you guys are a big fan of it and you like it a lot, because it's not a bad heirloom. And last but not least, we have Revenant's heirloom. Revenant's heirloom is a scythe. It looks absolutely amazing. The spin inspect on it is really cool. Probably one of the best looking heirlooms in the entire game. That's why I'm going to be putting it in the S tier. I feel like there's not many heirlooms that they've put as much detail in as Revenant's. They definitely went all out with it. It fits his persona perfectly. It's literally one of the best heirlooms, hands down. Even like the inspect on it is amazing, as well as the hit animations, and just everything about it is actually done so well, and that's why it's definitely S tier. One of the best heirlooms in the entire game, and easily one of my favorites, even though I'm not a big fan of Revenant. But that's pretty much it for the tier list, so thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.